Can you feel the breeze, Yasuke? It fans the total destruction of Iga. A most perfect night. Ready to finish them off?
At your command, my lord.
Assassin's Creed Shadows is finally here, almost 6 months after it was supposed to be released. As a fan of the franchise since day one, I've been eagerly awaiting the arrival of this open-world adventure set at the heart of feudal Japan, an era that many players have been requesting for a very long time. It's finally here, and I've already logged stacks of time exploring my authentic dual protagonist journey. The game is great, but it's not perfect. It's one of the best modern Assassin's Creed games in the series, boasting these RPG mechanics and the gargantuan open-world environment that we've come to expect from these titles since 2017's Assassin's Creed Origins was released. But that doesn't mean it's going to land well with every fan, myself included. Hang around and check out my full Assassin's Creed Shadows review to understand exactly what I mean. Assassin's Creed Shadows has one of the most stunning worlds in franchise history. If there is one thing that I'll say quite openly, it's that 1579 Japan looks gorgeous. The ability to move through the seasons only adds to that beauty, allowing players to transition from the incredible colours of autumn to a world blanketed by a layer of snow in winter. That world might feel overwhelming at first, but the pacing does help with that. Like in previous games, certain areas are considered off limits until you're tough enough to venture into them. And I do mean off limits. I found myself getting thoroughly humbled with a one-tap death from some hulking samurai because I crossed borders far too early, way more times than I can count. Now, it does look flawless on the surface, and everything from the weather systems to the dynamic day and night cycles work really well. But this is where my gripes with Assassin's Creed Shadows start to surface. For instance, wildlife is everywhere, but it seems far too random to really make much sense, and you can't kill animals in this title, so the fauna doesn't serve a purpose whatsoever. Also, NPCs are going about their lives everywhere, but as with previous titles, they are completely repetitive in their journey and they never show any facial expressions, which always rubs me the wrong way. If you choose to play via the non-guided mode, you're going to have to naturally explore the open world and find your objectives based on clues and tips, which is nice enough if you've got the time to do so. Exploring Japan in Assassin's Creed Shadows is great, and there's plenty of scenery and hidden locations to uncover, but ultimately, it's just another enormous Assassin's Creed map, and some people are getting tired of that. The dual protagonist system is decent enough, and offers a really good spread between tactics. In 2015, Assassin's Creed Syndicate was released with a similar operating model, but Jacob and Evie Frye didn't feel different enough. In Assassin's Creed Shadows, Yasuke and Naoe are poles apart, and they couldn't be more different if they tried. Yasuke is cumbersome, but immensely powerful and imposing. Naoe is at the other end of the spectrum. She's light, agile, and stealthy, but much more susceptible to succumbing to a brutal death at the hands of enemies. Now, I've stressed that Naoe is the most entertaining character to play as in series history. She is so fast and fluid, and her combat mechanics are intense and genuinely refreshing. It's a very intentional split. You're often given the choice to play through certain sequences as either character, but open world exploration can be completed as you see fit. If you prefer the heavier hand of an armored samurai, then opt for Yasuke. But if you want to control a speedy shinobi, then you'll pick Naoe. Even stingers, responses to each character, and parts of the soundtrack are unique depending on who you play as, which is another neat touch. The acting between each character is also superb, with special props being given to Naoe's actor, Masumi Tsunoda, who makes her major video game debut in Shadows. And there are plenty of weapons to get to grips with as you explore this world. There are abilities aplenty and stacks of skills to learn. The ability system works similarly to every Assassin's Creed game since 2017, but in this game, you're not controlling demigod warriors, and they're a little more bound to realism, which I love. I was never really a fan of the mythical stuff. One complaint I have about the combat mechanics is that finishing moves become very old, very fast. In a single fight, you might see the same finishing move play out several times, which isn't a good look. The game might have some of the best stealth mechanics in franchise history, but the open combat sequences could be a little bit better. Also, Yasuke might be a phenomenal powerhouse, but my word is he clumsy. As you sprint around, he's going to clash with everything from barrels to fences and from screens to doors, falling head over heels through every breakable object in the world. Now, I've explained that the world in Assassin's Creed Shadows is beautiful and a wonder to explore, but the meaningful content spread around the world is very thin. Most of the side objectives that I picked up as I explored were simple tick box quests, such as kill 100 enemies in this region or find 10 things in this city. But the core campaign is great and extremely cinematic. The soundtrack and the visuals mixed with the set pieces and the acting all win top points for me, but that side stuff really needs sharpening. There is just not a lot of weight to this filler content. The side contracts, the shadows projects, the collectible hunting, it's all very bland and very quickly becomes boring. Do I really want to kill 100 bandits in a certain area 5 times to unlock a new hat? Probably not. There is a lot of side content, from assaulting enemy castles to finding spontaneous missions from NPCs, but once you've done it all a few times, you're left not wanting to do it again. But you need to if you want to unlock everything. If you want to eliminate every target that pops up, you're also going to be in for a really tough time. As I dug into Assassin's Creed Shadows, I find myself constantly finding more circles of enemies to assassinate. They just keep popping up. It's a similar story with the base building elements of the game. You can build a full-fledged hideout complete with multiple open-ended buildings, ornaments, trees, rocks, and so on. It's great, but I feel that the requirements for constructing and upgrading certain buildings are kind of unrealistic and such a grind, which really does cast a pall over a feature that I was really looking forward to. Now, don't get me wrong, I've spent hours in photo mode capturing every angle of this idyllic, incredible world that I'm talking about, but there's only so much depth you can get from snapping photos in a fairly empty world. The vistas are great and the environment is stunning, but it just feels a little bit barren. There's enough meat on the bones here to justify the purchase, and the game's visuals, the stunning world, and the cinematic campaign all contribute to my recommending this title. However, the cracks in the game's foundations are evident, the flaws that have existed for years are front and center, and it's not enough of a change from the formula that we've known for years to feel all that different. Ultimately, Assassin's Creed Shadows is technically sound and authentic, and it represents a world that fans of the franchise have wanted to explore for many years. The artistic choices are great, the soundtrack is impressive, and the ambience is stellar. Plus, Naue makes for a phenomenal lead, but there are just too many niggling flaws for me to consider this a perfect title. Buy it, but don't expect anything too different from the last game, or the one that's probably going to follow this one. Let me know in the comments what you think about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and as always, we'll see you on the inside.